Let's go to the fan hotline and welcome in John Greco, former Browns guard, current Browns analyst. He is on the fan hotline. John, in my hand, I have an envelope. It's sealed. It's my list of candidates for the Cleveland Browns head coaching job. When do you think that I will have to unseal this envelope?
I think you will have to unseal that envelope. Man, this is right out of the gate. I love this.
This is like Johnny Carson and Karnak the Magnificent.
Yeah. Now, what do I think happened? What I should happen? They're two different questions. I'm going to answer what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
I think that envelope is going to be sealed for longer than everyone else thinks.
Okay. Whoa! I didn't know that was such a bombastic opinion, Tone.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I mean, the way this is trending, but Greco says not so fast.
Okay. Continue, John.
Yeah, I just, I go back and forth and it's thinking about things, and the way this thing is played out, I just, you saw Giants make a move. You saw other head coaches lose their jobs for far less than what we're seeing. And I said on the show last week, when certain things happen, it's when people start losing their jobs. But the press conferences, the way that game went down Sunday, and we got through yesterday, and today's a new day. It just seems like Coach Stefanski operates and speaks as if he has been told or knows that no matter what, his job is safe, and that he's just here buying time for next year. That's what I'm starting to think. That someone in the front office, whether it's Mr. Haslam or someone is telling him, look, we have the ammo to go into the next year's offseason and draft. You need to just start preparing for that, and that is the goal. Right now, try to win games, I guess. I don't really know what the strategy is. I don't want to say, the whole idea of tanking, I get that it happens, and you can look and say, oh, they're tanking, but you can't tell the players on the field to tank. So they can make moves behind the scenes to make it easier for them to lose, and it does seem like they're doing that. But, on the last play of the game, 4th and 4, you don't tell that player to jump off sides and lose the game. So things are happening to achieve that goal, if that's the goal. But I just think Coach Stefanski, it seems like he's operating that he knows something that we all don't. Or I would think that you would see a little bit more fire under him. And the press, send a message. It's just so stoic. It's just so monotone at all times. And I get, he's never too high, never too low. Even when they win games, he responds the same way. But the way that they're losing and the quarterback play, it's hard for me to defend. I try to come on. I try to be, a guy. I don't like throwing people under the bus, but it's hard to defend now. And you see the reactions out of some of the other players. And, 4th and 1, when, there's guys open and they don't run the ball and the ball's not being delivered where it needs to be, and some of the errant throws, it's really getting hard for me to defend. And for no changes to be made, that's where I'm questioning. Are they really trying to win? And if a guy's job is on the line and he has a say in the outcome, why are there no changes being made? So that's kind of where I'm at this morning. And after, watching that game Sunday.
Well, I'll tell you this, John, my issue with it, Lyman and I almost had an argument, but I think I agreed with him. He wanted Cam Thomas cut after what happened on Friday or after on Sunday. And, the reason I disagreed is I don't think it proves anything if you cut him. You want accountability. The time for accountability was 6 years ago. The time for accountability was, whatever when it came to, well, do we have to get rid of Baker or do we have to do this differently? The time for accountability was not putting the C on Deshaun Watson's jersey at the cost of Nick Chubb's jersey, not giving him a game ball for 150 yards passing, not dealing with Jadeveon Clowney for another 2 months after we know that there was a locker room argument in the postgame where Jadeveon Clowney just didn't want to go back out there. That was the time for accountability. Now we haven't had accountability. We haven't had it. And so if they were to do it now, I'd go, well, wait a minute. And all of a sudden you want to be accountable to everybody? Now all of a sudden you want to you act like a franchise that's moving forward and has a standard? I wouldn't believe them if they did a thing. Like, why start now? Why start holding anybody accountable now, John?
Yeah, I'm with you. And, I don't want to, a guy made a mistake and jumped off sides. And, yeah, the timing was awful, and lost. That one play resulted in a loss. But, when coach says, well, there's other plays in that game that lost the game or contributed to the loss, those are all true. But I'm not in this situation where because I've been a player that has made a mistake in a crucial part of the game, and the next morning I'm like, man, is my nameplate going to be above my locker tomorrow? So that's a bad feeling. And for you to
but why did you feel that way, John? Why did you think that could even be a possibility?
Because of accountability, and because if you're the result, the negative result of a game, it's job security, and you're worried about that goes across anywhere, any business. If you're not performing and you cause the greater good and the group to not win or achieve their goals, you feel like you're the weakest link and you might be gone. So that's kind of what I thought. No, it never happened because cooler heads prevail, and it's like even though I may have had a penalty in the fourth quarter or missed that block, there were other parts in that game that everybody could have done differently. And I think if you just start cutting people to try to say, oh well, we're going to hold people accountable so they don't catch this ball, they're cut. That last play was ugly and bad, and I'm sure he feels terrible. But to Ken, to your point, if you just start cutting guys now, and it's just going to look like it's forced, and you're like, well, okay, where's this all been? There's been so many things leading up to this point that are just ugly, and I would just think that would seem kind of weak for them to do right now. But is that coaching? I know Coach Stefanski takes the blame, and he's like, well, that's on me. He's not out there, holding those guys back to jump off sides. Or pushing them forward to jump off sides. You can coach like, hey, listen, you got to know that those guys aren't going to snap that ball, and they're trying to. You can hear it from the sidelines, and that was just a mental lapse by a player. Do I think he should lose his job for it? Maybe lose reps and opportunities, but to cut him right now, I don't know what that would accomplish. It's just you move on, but. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for that one.
Yeah, John, I guess what I'm saying is that there's no stakes within this organization. Nobody gets benched, nobody gets cut, nobody gets fired. And I know it's 6 years, so Ken's right. He's got me. Like, if you do it all of a sudden now, it almost seems like a panic or desperation, or you're trying to save your job. And all I'm saying is, I just don't know that accountability thing. We say it a lot, but we don't really know what it means within the Browns organization, because there just seems to be we're always on the same page. We're always of the same mindset. When we all know, when all is said and done, when somebody moves on from this organization one way or another, we're going to find out that they weren't on the same page, that there were vehement disagreements, because it's life. That's normal. And the messaging that they're putting out, along with the way they seem to be aligned, and then by viewing how the team operates, I just wonder if there is any accountability in that building.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it also makes me think and wonder, who's really in charge and who really has the final say. Because if Kevin Stefanski had the final say, maybe he would do things differently. I'm speculating. I don't know. If the head coach has the ability and the freedom to make changes, you would just think by now changes would be made and accountability would be taken. But it's not. And is that solely on him? Maybe. I don't know. We're not in that building. So behind those closed doors, when Kevin goes upstairs and meets with the brass and meets with ownership and meets with whoever in the front office, what is being told? We don't know that. So when it trickles downstairs and you're a player and you're like walking around on eggshells because surely a change is coming today. We got to try to win, and it's not working. Surely a change is coming, and it just never does. Then you're like, man, what's going on? So that's kind of where my head's going right now. It's like, does he have as much control as as a traditional head coach would, as we would think Mike Tomlin does? We saw him cut Juan Thornhill. To send a message and say, hey, look, we're in a race right now, and we're in a fight, and if it's not cutting it, and we're coaching you up, and it's not getting done, we're moving on. It just doesn't seem that it goes that way in Cleveland in this current situation. Why? I don't know.
Are you ready? I'm sorry, because I don't want to. We're getting close to it here. Are you ready to move on from Dillon Gabriel?
At this point, yes, because a change needs to be made, and it starts there. It's always with the quarterback. Now, I've said it on this show in defense of Dillon Gabriel in the first couple starts. Do I think it's going to look drastically different? No. Did the play calling look drastically different? No. So now the next thing is, let's see if a different guy under center or catching the snap, taking the snap. Let's see if it provides a spark if it looks different. Do I think it's going to be all of a sudden a 38-point offense? Probably not, because I think they have other issues, but it's got to look better than this. I think Shedeur can probably make a little bit better throws and be more accurate, something that we thought Dillon Gabriel was supposed to be. So that just brings me back to my original point. Why is he not in there? Why has a change not been made? Are they trying to win or not? And who has the final say? Coach Stefanski just kind of operates as if, we're sticking with Dillon. Well, it hasn't improved. It hasn't looked better. Quite frankly, it's looked worse, and I think everybody can agree with that. So why aren't they making a change? So if they're trying to win, which the players are, you would think they are. The fans want to see wins. I would think a change needs to be made. Now, again, is that going to solve all their problems? I don't know. I think they have other issues. But I think at this point, yes, we've seen that what Dillon Gabriel can do with what's around him. He's not good enough to elevate what's around him and win them games. Now, if the offense was a playoff caliber offense and there was weapons all over the place, and the scheme was looking good and they were balanced, could Dillon Gabriel execute that? I think so, and get him out of some pinches and coordinate some drives. But they just don't have the supporting cast. So can Shedeur Sanders come in and elevate? Time will tell. We'll see.
All right, ask him real quick. Ask him the diabolical question you had, or the troll question.
I had a troll question?
That wasn't a troll question. That was a real question.
Which one? I have so many.
Would you rather see Deshaun Watson than Dillon Gabriel right now?
That's diabolical. I told you guys a couple weeks ago, I said that we would see Deshaun Watson, and I reserved the right to change my mind at a later date. I still think we're gonna see Deshaun Watson playing for the Cleveland Browns this year. I do. Now, your question was, should we see him over Dillon Gabriel? Was that the question? Or
would you rather see him than Dillon Gabriel?
That's too diabolical. I'm going to plead the fifth.
Oh, my God. That means yes. It means yes.
That does.
If it was no, you would just say no. Oh, my God.
Guys, I want to see Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, my goodness.
I want to see Shedeur.
What a cop-out. Total cop-out.
It's not a cop-out. That's what the entire fan base wants to see.
I can't believe it. Usually I'd say you can take the guy out of Youngstown. You can't take Youngstown out of the guy. The Youngstown has left you. If this was still John and Boardman talking to me right now, he'd have given me an answer. He would have beat around any bushes.
Like I said, I reserve the right to change my mind at a later date.
Fine.
Now, this is where we're at in this season. It's a mess. We don't even know what to talk about. It sucks. We just want to see a win. I don't give it a crap who is under center. I want to see a win.
You almost said something else.
If that's Deshaun, I did. If that's Deshaun Watson, trust me. If Deshaun Watson plays in a game and they win, nobody's going to be happy for him, but they're going to be happy the Browns won. And if Shedeur Sanders comes in and lights it up, then we're going to be like, then we're going to start pointing fingers. It's going to be ugly because it's like, why didn't he get a chance earlier on? Why was he, not dressing? Why is he not taking reps at practice? So there's so much that has to go into it, and there's still a lot of season left, guys. So I am still holding my opinion. I think Deshaun will play in a game.
All right, excellent, John. Thank you very much for the time. All the best,
guys. Talk to you next week.
John Greco on the Fan Hotline. Oh, that was positive and uplifting, now wasn't it?
I tell you, he said that he would make some really bad mistakes in a game, and he would go back into the locker room wondering if that nameplate was there. And I'm like, why? Why would you think that? Because there are times when a message is sent